that I would like to introduce you to our amazing CEO, Dr. Egbert Edelbroek, also a great friend of mine. And he will now talk about how we are turning this mission into reality through advanced IVF automated techniques. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marta. Working towards new worlds for our children to explore. So let's talk about enabling reproduction in space, and let me explain to you what we do today to make that eventually possible. I'm going to explain how we do how we achieve our goals. I'm going to explain what goals we have in our, what milestones we have in our roadmap, what progress we are making today. And I can imagine you want to know who wants to pay for this and why. But let's start with how. So, first of all, it's important to understand that natural reproduction in space is going to be out of the question for the next few decades. You may think, what about sex in space? That's fine, that's probably possible. Alexander will tell you about that tomorrow. But as long as it doesn't result in reproduction, that's fine. We cannot have natural reproduction in space yet. Space is causing too many problems that we cannot address yet. The technologies aren't ready. So we have to look at assisted reproductive technologies first. Technologies, ART, technologies that are used in IVF clinics. This basically gave us the initial building blocks that we work with. So we re-engineer this existing IVF technology to make it work in space. And you can imagine you shouldn't be trying to do a full 9-month cycle all at once with this ART technology. It's a step-by-step approach. So we started with focusing on the very first stages of reproduction, the conception stage and the early embryo development. Of course, this is a delicate topic, an ethically very delicate topic. And that's why it's very good that there's all these ethical committees that are involved with this and that we have to comply to. And of course, that also means that you start with animal models. So we start with mouse gametes and mouse embryos. And only when that is successful, we then transition towards working with human gametes and human embryos. So our technology, it's called ARTIS, Assisted Reproductive Technology in space. It's basically a small shoebox size mini lab that is designed to operate inside an unmanned satellite. You're looking at a satellite, it's about this size, 75 centimeters, and it's launched with a rocket into space to orbit the Earth for about 5 to 6 days, depending on the type of embryos. After that, this space capsule will return the samples and the mini lab back to Earth. Just before that, the embryos in the mini lab are cryogenically frozen, just like it happens in IVF labs. And this is done to protect the embryos for the quite rough re-entry back to Earth. But what happens inside that mini lab? You're looking on the inside of the satellite. It's a simplified version, you can imagine. But what happens inside? So it functions basically similar to an embryo incubator, a life support system that facilitates embryo development with micro cameras to monitor that process. So our version is similar, but it's miniaturized, it's automated, and it also enables the conception stage and the cryogenically freezing. Inside, there is a very important component, a microfluidic disc. I actually have a prototype version with me. If anyone wants to look at it from close up, then just ask me afterwards. And this is where the magic happens inside. Inside there will be the male and female reproductive cells, and they will be brought together in this disc. And the disc is spinning to provide artificial gravity. And by changing the rotation speed of this disc inside the mini lab, we can study any gravity level that we want for the embryos to experience. For example, the gravity level of the Moon or Mars, because if we want to have human settlements on Mars, we want them to be independent from Earth, so we need to address the reproductive challenge. And you don't want to find out how embryos do on Mars, in the Mars gravity environment on Mars. That's crazy expensive and complex. If you can use our mini lab very close to Earth in low Earth orbit to study this much more affordable and much quicker. So that's how we contribute to becoming a multiplanetary species. So what are we doing in terms of goals and milestones on our roadmap? Next year we are preparing a ground-based testing campaign supported by ESA in the Netherlands actually, where we will be testing our mini lab inside the equipment that will provide artificial micro and partial gravity with mouse embryos, mouse gametes inside. The same year we will also do our first validation mission in space, an orbital mission, a 3-hour test flight. And 1 year later, 2025, we will do a full 5-day mission in space, again allowing the mouse embryos to do the conception and embryo development to validate our minimum viable product. In 2026, we will repeat this mission, but now also with the recovery stage, like you saw in the animation. So we can examine the embryos when they're frozen back in an IVF clinic on Earth. And then we assume we will have reached the stage that we will get the approval to also do the same mission with human gametes, resulting in the very first human embryo conceived beyond Earth. And we believe it should be possible that within this decade, those embryos will also be allowed back into the natural womb to grow out in the very first human babies conceived beyond Earth. Small step for a baby, giant baby step for humankind. So, what is the status of our progress? We are extremely excited and proud that we have established a lot of partnerships with technology partners, research partners. So it's a well-balanced mix of research partners, space life science partners, and industry partners, space technology companies that are helping us to achieve our goals and validate our research roadmaps, our hardware, the ARTIS technology, etc. One more thing about progress. Last August we did a high altitude balloon drop test together with our recovery partner. It was a very important development stage for their MERCAP, their space capsule, at least a 30-centimeter model of this. It also had organic material on board to test for radiation absorption and more things. So that's another part of our progress. You can imagine with a topic like procreation in space, you attract a lot of attention. We are very honored and excited that our work and our progress is covered in so many podcasts, interviews, TV shows, journals, books. It keeps continuing and we're very proud of that. We even made it to the Jimmy Kimmel show. Much more important, of course, to be in the more serious journals like BBC Science Focus. And recently, just a few weeks ago, in the MIT Technology Review. The author, by the way, that's a brilliant journalist, by the way. So all of this progress is of course only possible with a dedicated team of experts, with each one of them with intimidating track records, to be honest. A few details to emphasize. Sheila, our Chief Medical Officer, combining her expertise about IVF and fertility with her expertise about space and her work with NASA and her network in the fertility sector. You've met Marta, she's been introduced. Dave Cullen, combining his knowledge and his expertise around space systems engineering with his expertise about medical devices. And we're of course also super excited that recently Professor Dr. Chris Mason joined our team, and he's a top genetics expert, and our embryo research will be done in some of his labs also. But is this all? Enabling reproduction in space to achieve becoming a multiplanetary species? No, it's not. You cannot be a healthy space biotech company without also solving problems on Earth. Can artist technology do this? It's one of our key goals, actually. So the answer is yes, we can. Doing IVF in space requires automation. It requires miniaturization. These factors turn out to be really beneficial for improving IVF hardware on Earth and IVF treatment on Earth. Not everybody was given the ability to have children. Not everybody is blessed with that. Fortunately, reproductive technologies can help these couples to overcome this. I can imagine some people in the audience know this from personal experience. For myself, I'm involved in this because I'm a sperm donor myself. I was blessed to be asked to help couples with fertility problems. And it feels really good to be able to do that and to get into this technology and innovation to even increase IVF success rates, because it has been stagnating. Ever since IVF was invented about 45 years ago, the success rates kept increasing by merging with other technologies. But for the last 10 years, this increasing has stagnated. You can imagine the IVF sector has become a little bit desperate to look for other technologies to improve the success rate. So what does this mean if you look at the bigger picture? The IVF sector is facing these challenges. One of the causes is internationally, women want to focus more on their careers first and start a family later, if it's possible. But you can imagine their biology will need more often the assistance with this. This translates to a big market, a growing market. Annually, already almost $20 billion a year, growing rapidly. And with our technology, the success rates can continue to increase. Our research partners and our experts in the team, they have estimated that our technology can add another 15 to 20% to the success rate that is now stagnating. The exact specific benefits are a little bit technical, some of them you can imagine, but in a nutshell, it's about this 15 to 20%. And the rest of the details, of course, we have scientific documentation and analysis to back this up. And we're having white papers around this. You can ask us about this. Besides improving the hardware, we also see strong opportunities for the biological processes that Marta referred to improve the success rates on Earth. So if you look at the companies that are innovating IVF technology, these are the most important ones. And it becomes clear immediately that we are the only biotech company who is able and understands the space environment and the space infrastructure and has the technology that can operate there and benefit from this. There's a business case. We're looking for funding for Series A funding, 3 million. And with only 3 million, we can upgrade our technology to a technical readiness level 8 in only 2.5 years, enabling our species to eventually become multiplanetary. So please join us in our mission to spread the seeds of life on Earth and beyond. Thank you.